9 months ago, we were first introduced to an absolute spectacle that, well, simply put, it was really difficult to put into words at the time what this would actually mean for speed cubing moving forward. And our confusion was mainly due to the fact that we had quite literally never seen this before. The first time we had even gotten a glimpse into this concept was all the way back in 2017 when a 10-year-old Leo Borromeo set his first national record. This was the point where it became apparent that literal children can in fact be world class, but it wasn't until we saw him get the Asian record average of 6:37 back in 2018, at the age of 11, that it started to set in that we might just be doomed. It's 2023, and the fastest cubers in the world are Max Park and Timon Koleshinsky. 2022 consisted of a battle between Max and Timon for the title of fastest cuber in the world, so much so that they ended the year in a tie. No one had really even come close to the first two sub-5 averages, except for a certain man who got a 5:03 because, I don't know, he wanted to.
It was a PLL skip again.
Then we got to February of 2023. And absolute chaos ensued. Singapore Championship, set to take place the weekend of February 17th, 2023, was already being labeled as the most anticipated cubing competition of all time. And this was mostly due to the return of arguably the fastest cuber in the world at the time, Rui Hong-shu. But what we actually ended up getting out of this was something that changed cubing forever. You see, there was this other kid who was also from China who hadn't competed since 2021, when he was 7 years old, and it was safe to say that he had gotten a lot better since then, dropping not only a 3-second solve on his first average back, but also a new Asian record with a 4.91 average, the third sub-5 we had ever seen. This had completely flipped the narrative, and now all of a sudden, a 9-year-old was in the conversation for fastest cuber in the world. Multiple world records later, and we arrive at these children, who do in fact carry my channel to this very day. So we've established that literal 6-year-olds can become world class, but how far can this actually be taken? Well, this past weekend, we got our answer. And I can say all of everything you've heard already about how insane it is to see a 7-year-old child do this, but the solve and solution really just speak for themselves. On the solve, Xuanyi immediately chooses to do white, and it is not hard to tell why. He is dual color neutral, so just looking at yellow here, it's actually pretty abysmal. But then we flip over to white, and we can see that with just one move, we form this square, and along with that move, it also inserts this edge. And then with one more move, we have a whole block right here, which is very, very nice to start off the solve. But he's not only going to solve that, he is also going to solve a double X cross. And the simplest way that I can go about explaining how he's going to end up doing this is we can simply count the pieces that are needed for this double X cross. So we have this corner that's already solved. We have this edge that's already going to be solved. So that's just one move to solve 2 out of the 4 pieces. And then the other 2 pieces we need to solve are this edge and its corresponding corner. So when we end up doing the cross solution that he does, which solves these 2 first, just like this edge doesn't move at all. And that's a very key aspect of this X cross. And also, this corner doesn't move at all. So what he's going to do is he's actually going to do something that you'll see a lot of top solvers do, which is basically whenever you have something really good over here, you're going to focus on the bad stuff first, which in this case is simply a 3-move cross solution, just like this. And he's going to keep white on the front the entire time. He's actually going to keep this R' move until after he does a wide R', and then he's going to do the R'. And now we have the entire cross solved, right? But the last thing we need to do, if you'll remember, we have both of these solved. We have this edge solved. All we need to do is solve this corner. And this corner, luckily enough, just goes straight into the front right, which we already have positioned over the slot. So he simply needs to orient the corner just how you would to solve an F2L case with this corner and any corresponding edge, really, by simply putting the corner at the back and then doing R, U, R'. And now he has it in a place where he can just insert it into the front right, like so. And now we have a double X cross, and all he needs to do to align it is just a D move. But he also does a U move at the same time, and the reason he does that is just because we're going to be going into this red-green pair for his third pair. I'm not exactly sure if he saw this in inspection or not, but he does a D and U prime at the same time to set up these 2. We can also notice that our 4th pair is going to be coming out of its slot whenever we insert our 3rd pair, which is going to make look ahead really, really simple moving forward. So to pair these 2 up, he simply goes like this, and then he does a wide D move because you're doing a U move at the same time as a rotation. So just quicker to do in general in that situation. He of course inserts this pair into the back, and now we have a very pivotal moment of the solve, which you will see Xuanyi do in every single one of his solves, which is solving the yellow cross on top while also solving the final pair, which is known as EO, or edge orientation. To do this, he'll recognize one of the several hundred cases he has on the cube at this point in the solve, and for this one it's simply just a solved F12 pair in the front left with a solved edge in the very back. And this specific algorithm basically just consists of putting the pair in the front right, and then doing L prime, U prime, L, and then we just have this other case, which is basically just a sledgehammer. Now from here, a very normal person might be able to recognize that we simply have an anti-Sun case for OLO, but since Xuanyi knows full ZBLL, he actually knows how to solve this case in just one algorithm, and you might also know how to as well. So it actually turns out that in this particular case, with the corners being opposites diagonally, and also these bars around the cube, we can notice that it is simply just going to be a left Sun, and that's going to solve the entirety of the cube. So that is a ZBLL, and he did take the time to actually recognize that, as well as the AUF. So he knew it was going to be a U prime move for the AUF, simply just tracking this edge, before he even did the algorithm, and then he simply puts down the cube, 354, with the ZBLL recognition, which is just absolutely absurd. And do keep in mind that this was all done at over 11 TPS. So 5th in the world, but it still actually isn't the fastest ZB solve we've ever seen, because back in 2018, Yusheng Deuce 347, by technicality, is a ZB method solve. And if we really focus on that fact for a second, the fact that Xuanyi genuinely did every step of the ZB method in the solve, the slight pause to recognize the ZBLS case with still somehow a sub 3 F2L, and then what by all means is a sub 1 ZBLL execution. I don't care if it's just lefty Sun, this actually makes the solve more impressive than you might think, because he actually had to take the time to recognize the case and plan the AUF, and still did all of that in under a second. Why does this seem familiar? Well, in Timon's 378 from back in October, he got pretty much the exact same last layer, and also took the time to recognize the ZBLL and AUF. And on Xuanyi's solve, this was of course all while maintaining 11 turns per second somehow. Who knows how fast this solve would have been without the slight pause, but that's beside the point, because a 0.7 second drop when you're already this fast is still just absolutely absurd. At this point, it's not even a new era anymore. Like, this is just what you're going to be seeing in the coming months, and who knows what the future holds. I mean, it's probably just not what we expect at all. Again, I've already said everything I can a million times over on the channel before. I even remind you every day of your inferiority to children like Xuanyi, so never ever forget that you are still slower than a 6-year-old at heart. And maybe even a 4-year-old. That's right, Lucas is dropping 12s now. We're cooked. Honestly, looking back at some of the stuff that I did for the beginning of this video was kind of sad, because it made me realize that we missed out on what would have been maybe the best 3x3 final of all time with the 2021 World Championship. I mean, we did get Monkey League, so that was a great substitute, but that still would have been absolutely insane to watch. Anyway, if you want more of whatever that was that you just watched, it's right here. Also, you can sub up here if you want to. And turn on the notifications just so you can, be the first to leave a hate comment on my video. I'd really appreciate it if you did that next video, actually, in particular. But yeah, I just want to talk about that a little bit. And besides that, that's about it. See ya.